It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hi and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. Now, the rules in sport is such that every athlete across sporting disciplines, whether it's a team sport or an individual one, is tied to the organizations, the association that governs the sport. But the biggest threat looming large over cricket in particular is slowly players are trying to move away from the parent bodies the world over and getting tempted into T20 leagues. Many boards are struggling to stop or hold the players back. Well, except the Indian board. It isn't for nothing that BCCI is the board of control for cricket in India. They have cracked the whip and players are falling in line. From cricket to hockey, what is the reason for two team leads, the bosses, a CEO and a head coach, to resign back-to-back? Lack of a professional work ethic is being given as the prime reason. We'll tell you more a little later. And is Manchester United shivering at the prospect of facing an Erling Haaland-led Manchester City? The memes definitely think so. All of that on the show, but first, Sports 360. Spanish striker Jenny Hermoso has spoken out for the first time since the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup kissing scandal. Hermoso said, and I quote, "Football continues to give me life." She had helped Spain to a maiden World Cup trophy only last year. Confidential security plans for the 2024 Paris Olympics were stolen on 26 February. The incident happened at a railway station in the French capital. Police say a bag with a computer and 2 USB sticks that had sensitive data have gone missing. Regional Transport Police are now investigating the robbery. Former Belarusian Olympics head coach Yuri Moisevich has been banned for trying to force a sprinter to leave the Olympics at Tokyo. He was forcing Kristina Simonotskaya out of an event she was supposed to run in. She said she was threatened thereafter and chose to defect to Poland, saying she feared her safety if she returned to Belarus. Over in tennis, world number 4 Daniil Medvedev began his title defense campaign at the Dubai Open with a win. He downed Kazakhstan's Alexander Shevchenko 6-3, 7-5 in the round of 32. Medvedev has returned to the courts after missing 2 tournaments due to an injury. India's Rohan Bopanna and Australia's Matthew Ebden advanced to the quarterfinal of the men's doubles event at the Dubai Tennis Championships. The duo defeated Turkey's Skander Masuri and Pakistan's Ehsam ul Haq Qureshi, Bopanna's former teammate, 7-6, 7-6 in the round of 16. Now, what's the biggest threat that cricket as a sport faces today? You've been seeing hints of that everywhere over the last many months. Players revolting and certain cricket boards in the world not really having the clout to stop or control this, and somehow coming to terms with this or simply giving in. That's what it's amounted to. The temptation of league cricket is real. Let me give you some examples to support what I'm saying right away. Pakistan. Haris Rauf revolts with the Pakistan Cricket Board, PCB, and gets his way to play the BBL or the Big Bash League, which is in Australia. Pakistan terminated Rauf's central contract, but that was just a warning. He features in the Pakistan Super League right after, and of course, the fact that he's got injured doesn't help anyone. West Indies, Nicholas Pooran, Jason Holder, Kyle Mayers chose to not accept the central contracts with the board and preferred to play league cricket over the world instead. West Indies couldn't hold on to them. They do not have the power to stop these players. Bangladesh, Shakib Al Hasan is not retired, contests elections and in doing so misses some of the national team fixtures and then goes up to train and appear in the BPL or the Bangladesh Premier League right after the elections, in fact. No one can control what Shakib is choosing to do. By that I mean the board, the authority in this matter. Afghanistan, 3 key players, Mujibur Rahman, Naveen-ul Haq, Fazal Haq Farooqi, who were key in that World Cup campaign of theirs in 2023, demanded they be released from the central contract so they could play T20 cricket around the globe. Eventually, they came to some sort of an understanding based on negotiations that they appear for national duty but still can go ahead and play their leagues. Not the most convenient resolution, as injuries are definitely a major concern. There's a lot of cricket when this happens. Like what happened with Haris Rauf. And the issue is also with some of the other boards. The IPL or the Indian Premier League is a massive window. It's one of the most prestigious and lucrative leagues the world over. But playing that comes at a cost, missing games for your country or even getting injured in the process. A lot of boards have been forced to take their players out of IPL. The Australian board did that. We had Mitchell Starc being absent for a while. Of course, there was injury concerns too, but the Ashes or cricket calendar in Australia was far more important. But these are anecdotal. Like with England cricketers, many of them do not feature in the IPL at all. Joe Root, in fact, was one of the latest additions. New Zealand captain Kane Williamson himself got injured badly during his inaugural stint with the IPL franchise Gujarat Titans last year, and that resulted in him missing a few crucial games for New Zealand at the 2023 World Cup. So there are repercussions of this choice between club and country in this storm that is fast approaching, where players are more and more moving away from their parent bodies and towards the league way of cricket. But here's the thing, one board is showing its iron fist when it comes to laying down the rules and dictating what their players must do and choose, and what lies ahead of the choice that they make. In fact, today, just a while earlier, the fresh annual contracts were announced by the board. And guess who did not make the cut or who were removed from the contracts? Shreyas Iyer and Ishan Kishan. Both of their annual contracts have been terminated. They weren't even considered as mentioned specifically in the release. The BCCI clearly sending out a strong message to the rest in the country. BCCI stands for Board of Control for Cricket in India, and no phrase describes this board any better. BCCI or the Indian board is proving to be the taskmaster, where other boards have been weak or have lost control over their own players and the talent. The Indian Cricket Board continues to deal with any insubordination in the most strict and disciplinary way. It started off with wicketkeeper bat Ishan Kishan requesting for time away from cricket. Reports suggested it was pertaining to mental health, and we understand that. There is constant cricket throughout the year and can take a toll on your mind and your emotional space, and so did the Cricket Board. But then months down the line, and it just seemed like Ishan was preparing for the T20 cricket to follow rather than the national schedule that was lined up for him. Many statements came out made by the board as well as the team management saying the cricketers who were not part of the senior side were required to play domestic cricket while they were at it. Ishan Kishan was supposed to turn out at the Ranji Trophy, domestic tournament in India, for his state side Jharkhand. He was told to do so, but surprise, surprise, he didn't turn up. The board then went ahead and made this statement.
It's essential to recognize that domestic cricket forms the backbone of Indian cricket and serves as the feeder line to Team India. Our vision for Indian cricket has been clear from the outset. Every cricketer aspiring to play for India must prove themselves in domestic cricket. Performance in domestic tournaments remain a critical yardstick for selection, and non-participation in domestic cricket will carry severe implications.
Basically putting it out firmly that cricket in India, national or domestic, country or state, came first. That was priority over any other cricket, including the Indian Premier League or the IPL. Message loud and clear. That's the core even when it comes to league cricket. You won't find any current Indian cricketer featuring in any T20 league apart from the IPL. It's the price they have to pay, and that's just the way it is. But getting back to BCCI's diktat, as was seen with Shreyas Iyer. The Indian batter was dropped or let go off from the Indian test side owing to a string of poor performances with the condition of appearing for his domestic tournament for Mumbai, getting his rhythm back and then working his way back into the national setup. And then came contrasting versions and reports where Shreyas Iyer said he wasn't really fit yet, while the NCA or the National Cricket Academy in India said that he was 100% fit. In the middle of all this, of course, India wins a test series with youngsters in their ranks, and then comes Captain Rohit Sharma's stinging statement.
The ones who want to play, have the hunger to perform, play in tough conditions, will be given preference. It's a tough format, and if you want success and if you want to excel, then hunger is very important. We will only give chances to the ones who have that hunger. You eventually get to know who doesn't have that hunger to play tests. If you don't make use of opportunities, they will go. The ones who perform and help teams win, they get more attention.
The message that Jay Shah and the BCCI put forth is only reiterated here. Only hunger to play in the country matters. That comes first than anything else. And a day later comes the news that Shreyas Iyer will be playing for the Ranji Trophy Mumbai semi-final match against Tamil Nadu. A little too late though, isn't it? But the Indian Cricket Board here is setting an example to other boards around the world on how to deal with this issue that seems to be a growing concern. They're showing who's boss, and if players choose to move away from the norm, then they will be dealt with. There is no player or no one who comes above the board and the rules of the sport, and that's pretty simple. Now, if you have a choice of picking a city that has had the best sporting moments in the world, which one would you choose? For many, an option is Melbourne in Australia, purely because of the variety of sports. There's cricket, football, there's tennis, and of course Formula One. It's also hosted an Olympics. Others might argue it to be London in the United Kingdom, home to a host of football clubs, the iconic Lord's Cricket Ground as well, the glittery Wembley. But a few fans would also bring in Manchester to the table, a city that has Old Trafford, which has seen some of the best cricket and football games, home to two giants of English football, Manchester City and Manchester United. A city that has experienced a nervy rivalry with Liverpool, and of course, the Manchester Derby, which always raises the question, is Manchester blue or red? The intercity rivalry has seen some of the most iconic moments in the history of sports. Irrespective of the number of titles City has won in the recent past, for their fans, the biggest one would be the Aguero moment. Remember that Aguero goal on 13th May 2012. Sergio Aguero's goal, 90 seconds from the final whistle. That goal not only won City their maiden Premier League title, but it also broke the hearts of Manchester United fans, who finished second despite having the same number of points. City lifted the Premier League trophy because of higher goal difference and ended United's Premier League domination. Ask a Manchester United fan, they would still be haunted by that Aguero moment. That was just a glimpse of what Manchester City was about to become. The late 2010s and early 2020s saw City reach unprecedented heights of success. They won the league in 5 out of 6 seasons under the management of Pep Guardiola. And here in 2024, the two clubs are in completely different ends of the spectrum. While Manchester City are dominating, United are hunting for a revival of sorts. While City is attracting global talents, United are still stuck on prospective players. But no matter the stark difference and the imbalanced face-off that it may seem like, a Manchester derby is always one to look forward to. Something for the fans, some pride for players. It's a do-or-die battle, and there is much at stake. Manchester United will face Manchester City at the Etihad on 3rd March in Premier League fixture. But who will hold the edge heading to the game? No prizes for guessing. It looks like Manchester City, and especially after yesterday's FA Cup game, where Manchester City hammered Luton Town 6-2. It was the goal machine Erling Haaland who scored 5 times. Some scary signs for United heading into the game. Memes have flooded social media platforms on how United is shivering in its boots ahead of that Sunday fixture. Erik Ten Hag's side is under pressure, especially after United's 1-2 loss to Fulham in their Premier League game. While City are full of confidence, United head into the game as the underdogs. And if their current form doesn't reflect the odds, their face-offs, especially over the last year, surely do. In the first derby of the 2022-23 league season, City beat United 6-3. It's the highest scoring Manchester derby of all time. If that was not it, in the 2023 FA Cup final, Manchester City went on to win 2-1. And then, of course, come the current season, City beat United 3-0 thanks to Erling Haaland's twin strikes. So all these results, and especially the involvement of Haaland himself in one of those, would give Manchester City a psychological edge. And let's not forget, Manchester City are second in the Premier League points table. Pep Guardiola and City combined are monstrous when it comes to a good fight and keeping the momentum going. So safe to say they won't let this opportunity slide too. Let's talk about United though. Yes, it's here again. Let's not rake up the past few months. The club not only is fighting on the field, but is also facing the wrath of it. In fact, after their loss against Fulham, players asked the management, in fact, for an off day. Usually the next day they do a bit of training and there's a video analysis session. Players wanted a break from it. But guess what? No break given. The pressure is mounting, and if we look at the two teams stacking up against each other on paper, United's lack of options in defence will be something that will haunt them. And imagine when the attacking display of City is put in front of a weak defensive United. Can you even imagine the carnage? I'm expecting another goal fest at the Etihad, not from both the sides though, maybe just Manchester City. And maybe this loss will be the most bitter pill for Erik Ten Hag and his team to swallow, but we'll wait and watch what happens on Sunday. What happens when not one but two bosses leave a setup? It raises more questions than answers, especially when both have been instrumental in a dramatic shift in the sport in the country. in results finally coming their way. Hockey India's long-serving CEO Elena Norman resigned from her position on Tuesday. The events that led to the long-due resignation is a real reflection of hockey's instability in the country. And what's more, shocking is the fact that the resignation comes just 3 days after head coach of the Indian women's team, Janneke Schopman, also quit. Schopman, who's an Olympic gold medal winner and World Cup winner as a player, claimed she wasn't valued and respected and was unhappy with the work environment. A claim also made by Norman. These allegations made against the federation definitely reflects on the larger problems in the sport.
Hockey is one of the oldest sporting disciplines in the world, and it carries a rich legacy. The Indian hockey team was at one point a force to reckon with, a world beater. It meant that they held their heads high and refused to bow down to anyone who threatened what they stood for. This is the same sport that grabbed headlines for a defiant display against Adolf Hitler in 1936. During the 1936 Berlin Olympics, the Indian men's hockey team refused to bow down to the ruthless Hitler. It was an Olympic final and India were facing Germany. And Captain Major Dhyan Chand not only gave out a strong political statement, but won the final 8-1 in Hitler's presence. Imagine how spirited and dominant that Indian hockey team must have been. The team symbolized standing up for what they believed in and what was right. Fast forward to the year 2024, years later when the sport itself has come a long way, yet it seems to be mired in issues that will pull it down. The same sport and its governing body, Hockey India, are grabbing the headlines. Reports of a lack of work ethic and a problematic environment are emerging. In a shocking development, Hockey India's long-serving CEO Elena Norman resigned from her position on the 27th of February. Norman took over the role in 2011. This was after Hockey India's years of administrative muddle and even getting suspended. During her 13-year-long stint, Norman was instrumental in making Hockey India among the best-run sports federations. She brought in a professional work culture and even prompted the country to host major international tournaments. Her ways were ruthless, but they've yielded success for Indian hockey. But could they have resulted in her being pushed out too? Talks of her quitting the role were doing the rounds during the Women's Asian Champions Trophy in November 2023. Her absence during the Olympic qualifiers in January this year raised the alarm bells. Hockey India's president, who is a former player, Dilip Tirkey, too has acknowledged that the working environment and unpaid dues were some of the prime reasons for her exit. Reports say Norman was working in her role despite not being paid for over 3 months. What's more, Norman's resignation comes just 3 days after another woman lead, the hockey coach of the women's team, Janneke Schopman, stepped down. Schopman had resigned from her role after claiming that she and her team were not treated equally. But Schopman had said she had found support from Norman during her stint. Norman was instrumental in promoting women's hockey, ensuring equal facilities and recognition. Norman played a key role in the women's team's Olympic qualification in 2016 after 36 years. The dynamic Australian was pivotal in Hockey India's revival. But despite these achievements, she has departed, and it marks a setback for the board. Schopman and Norman's claims of the setup not being conducive for women to work in has put the country and the organisation under the scanner. While the board aims to promote and develop hockey in India, a long-standing employee leaving will impact the progress and affect the image India has as a sporting hub. The Hockey Association will have to get into damage control mode and soon, because 2 top female leads, one of whom is even a World Cup winner, quitting because of unequal treatment and unprofessional issues, puts India in a very poor light as far as its image as a sporting country is concerned.
We're almost at the end of the show, but there's of course time for Last Serve. Now we applaud every achievement here on Firstpost, and this one is unique. A naval officer took charge in a sailing around the world event and came out victorious. Take a look. wraps it up here on Firstpost. Thanks for joining in once again. I'll see you tomorrow. Till then, take care.